Dang, I am incompetent.
You've been
I'm
talking
incompetent.
to a brick wall this whole time.
I've been talking to a brick wall. Hey guys. So it's me being retarded. We weren't late. It was me being a silly little fool. I did not realize the stream had not started. Welcome everyone. I see a lot of good faces from the Lake stream, from Rap streams. We're welcome to all of you. No sugar, please. Latte, no sugar. Okay, dude, Sandman. But yeah. We're going to today talk about this interview John Thune did. He did 2 interviews with 2 mainstream media voices. And really, the point of the stream, which I had articulated just a couple seconds ago, the point is to try and get a read on what John Thune says, because really well-crafted politicians, it's part of the trade, ultimately do not tell you what they intend to do. They give you signals, they give you indications of what direction they're pointing, which are that way. And ultimately, that's what I want to do. It's like, I want to talk about the subtleties of Thune in these interviews. And ultimately, the goal is not necessarily to harass Thune in a malicious way, but ultimately show him he will have accountability that Mitch McConnell could never even dream of. He will have people watching him. He will have eyeballs. There are people paying attention. That is ultimately what we really want to do here. Okay. Real Texan Politics. Yes, he is here. He has been with the Lake stream. He has been with the Rap stream. And now he's coming in for number 3 because he is a true champion of live streaming. That's ultimately what we're seeing here. Hello. And we currently have also my other friends that you may not be familiar with. Anthrax, who is a deep beloved friend, not lover, friend of Tyrone. So good friend. We got, and we have Sherry.
How you doing?
Sherry, a very and deeply successful, even actually brilliant, state-of-the-art dentist. He's going to give you all of his hot takes on John Thune. So say hi to everyone, Sherry.
Glad to be here.
Yeah,
glad
awesome.
to be here.
And finally, last but most certainly not least, we have the what do I call her? Do I call you the Ice Queen or the Fire Queen? I don't know. But Rice is here. Beatrix is here. She's going to be giving her hot takes on the current situation with the Senate Majority Leader. Do you say hi to everyone, Rice?
Sorry, hold on. I was trying. It was just push to talk was being retarded.
Yeah, I get you, man. All right.
Bye, everyone. Hello.
Yes, awesome. Very cool. So, we're going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to do it at slightly faster speed. I realized I had watched through these before, so I would kind of have a grasp of what's going on, and I'd kind of sped read through them. I'm going to do it at 1.25, so we're not here all night. But yeah, ultimately, I just kind of want to hit some hot points with this. I have some timestamps down. So the first thing we're listening to is the opening of the Face the Nation interview with CBS, and he's currently going to start talking about how to deal with the narrow margins in there. So let's go ahead, let's give a listen. And again, you have to kind of listen a little bit carefully to Thune to be able to kind of get what we're saying. We're looking for the angle. We're looking for the implication. Instead of what he's plain face saying, because that's how politicians work. So go ahead and give it a listen.
Thank you for making time for us.
Great to be with you.
On a big day for you.
Thanks, Margaret. Right.
So let's start big picture. Republicans have unified control here in Washington, but the House Republicans have a pretty fractured caucus, a pretty narrow majority. How do you see that complicating the work you're able to get done over here in the Senate?
Well, we need, obviously, as you said, to get anything done, we have to work as a team. We have unified control. We have the majorities in the House, the Senate, and the White House, but the majority in the House is incredibly narrow, which creates some unique management challenges, but they've worked around them, and we will work around them and work with the Trump administration, the president and his team on an agenda that he campaigned on and that many of our colleagues here in the Senate and the House campaigned on. And so we're excited about the opportunity. Yes, these are unusual circumstances with respect to the margins, particularly in the House, but we expect to deliver on what the American people asked us to do.
Do you think that'll hamstring you in terms of big policy changes that you could legislate around?
I think it's always challenging, and especially in this current political environment. You know, people have strong views, and as you might expect and have seen, we don't always agree on among Republicans within the family.
Particularly among Republicans.
But I think when it comes to the big issues, securing the border, rebuilding the military, strengthening the economy, generating energy dominance for this country, those are all things on which we agree. And so I think as we proceed forward, with respect to even narrow margins, I think we're going to have hopefully a very unified effort when it comes to those core issues. We'll disagree on the margins and the process and all that sort of thing, but when it comes to the things we need to get done for the American people that we think move the country in the right direction, those are all things I think we agree on.
How often do you speak to the president?
Right. So that was the first set of questions, really just, and of course you have to deal with the journalist, right? She's trying to put her own spin on everything. And both of these journos that we're going to listen to are relatively irritating to listen to, but ultimately she's just asking, how are you going to deal with the slim majority? And Thune's answer to me, he seems very diplomatic, he seems very cordial, and you heard him say those main things. He said securing the border, energy dominance, and ultimately keeping the tax cuts from Trump. And so to me, when I hear senators or House leaders or anything, I hear overtalk, underdeliver. So to me, when he says those things, that sounds like the bare minimum of what he believes he's capable of accomplishing. That's the threshold. He doesn't think, not minimum, but rather maybe the roof of what he'll absolutely be able to get through. So no real promise for deportations in that. And to me, that signals that Thune may not think he's going to be able to get funding. And that worry is really going to metastasize for me when we kind of go down the line later in this interview. But for everybody else, is there anybody who wants to chime in and see, like, what is your first read on Thune when he went through with this first question? Nobody really got anything?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead. Let's see. They have a bunch of conversations about confirming nominees. I'm gonna skip past that, and there's a little bit of talk about JD dialoguing between the Senate and the presidency, and kind of trying to negotiate and figure out what's really capable of getting done. That was interesting, but we're just gonna kind of skip past it. I'm gonna get to this part at about 3:30. Where he's going to talk about what he would do if he were to disagree with Trump.
Implement the president's agenda.
You've had disagreements with Donald Trump in the past. As part of this advise and consent role, the role of the Senate, will you tell him when you think he's wrong?
I will, and I think my job is to do everything I can to help him achieve success, be a successful president, which in my view means it will be a successful country. The things that he talked about on the campaign trail, the things that the American people voted for, are all things that I think this president wants to get done, we want to get done, and I'd say that our incentives are aligned. We have the same set of objectives, we want to get to the same destination, but I think at times there will be differences in how we get there. And I think I have to spell out as clearly as I can to anybody who asks what the challenges are in the Senate. The Senate's a very different institution, clearly functions different than the House of Representatives, and understanding the unique aspects of how the Senate operates is something that I'm going to have to be able to share and convey to the president and help him understand, I think, what the contours are of what we can accomplish here in the Senate and what's realistic.
So essentially, he starts and says, we need to teach Trump what we're capable of doing. Very interesting turn of phrase. Does anybody have any comments on it before I ramble? Okay. Well, anyways, yeah, so my general take, my reading of it with this is that Thune, it's very strange for someone who's a second-term president, who's already been president, to be talked to like that. Like, I ultimately think, like, you can see this as cordial language, but to me, every single time I read this, I think it's Thune basically saying, we're going to not get things done, and we're going to have to whisper it behind closed doors to Trump what we can't get done, and then it'll come out as a press release later. And of course, you could accuse me of just like reading all like total negativity into this, but like that's ultimately what I think. Like when I listen to this is coming out. But if any of you guys have like other thoughts, make sure to let me know. Right now, let me see. Reminder that Bush promised energy independence yet never did it. Missouri, yeah, you're right. Bush did promise that. He promised a couple other things that he never got done, but that's every single candidacy. We've moved from independence to the term dominance, which is theoretically a step up. And so I'm really interested in seeing if that means, if we're setting low expectations, does that mean that we actually do achieve energy independence? If we don't achieve dominance, are they going to be able to get bills passed to do any of this? Or is it going to be, are we just really going to have to rely on Trump to cram things through executive orders? Of course, remember, the only problem with relying on Trump to do everything, I think he's willing to do more than he did last time. Ultimately, he's going to face challenges from lower courts infested with Biden appointees and other people. So he's got a lot of obstacles to do stuff. That's why we have to focus on the Senate in the first place, is because there are things that can't be accomplished with this. And the energy bills, I mean, that's going to be a really big thing. If Thune is capable or incapable of getting it, I think that determines at least like those basic things like tax cuts, energy bill. I think that really determines whether or not Thune retains leadership, at least as long as McConnell did. His face looks like Lindsey Graham. I wouldn't be that mean to Thune. Okay, look, he doesn't look like Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham looks like the pigs in the pork barrel legislation comics. Like, that's what I think of when I see like the flaps on Lindsey Graham. Like that, I wouldn't be so mean to frickin' I wouldn't be mean to Thune like that. That's really. Trump will never be seen as an insider. Oh, we have to teach him like he's a little baby. Well, like that was the connotation I got from there. And obviously he's saying it very cordially. He's like, well, the Senate's a very different institution. Yeah, no. Oh yeah, you were trying to ask me earlier, Toga. John, how good of a majority leader and speaker would Sessions and Jordan/Scalise would have been 2017 to now? Honestly, I would rather defer that to anybody else that wants to talk about it. I am very lukewarm on like that kind of a situation. Any of you guys got opinions on Jeff Sessions and Jordan Scalise leading instead of Mitch McConnell? And actually, who do we have in 2017? It's been so long. But yeah, do you guys have any takes?
Well, aside from the whole like Lindsey Graham bit, my first impression was I didn't know if he was stroking out or not, but that's because half of his face looks like it's sagging.
Oh gosh, yeah. Like there are some like really bad stills, and I had used one for the thumbnail, but I just for the joke, because Rap does a lot of like laser eyes in his thumbnails. I replaced it out, but the raw picture. Let me see if I can put it up on stream. It's pretty bad. Yeah. So here's what I was looking at with that. You see like his eyeballs. I don't know if you guys can see it on the stream, but like his left eyeball is like shifted from his right. It looks like pretty bad. I don't know
like his eye gave up, dude.
Yeah, this is what happens when you get hit too hard with the fluoride water, bro. Like it's just over.
Fluoride stare.
Like the fluoride stare like went into his like facial structure, and his face is being corroded. See, yeah, don't even rhinos like energy independence and anti-green policy? Well, Midnight, yeah, that's right. Rhinos are supposed to. They're supposed to like all of these things. The only thing is rhinos that seem to ever like always get done 10 out of 10 times seems to be like the tax cuts to me. But yeah, like we said, these promises have been made before and they haven't been kept. We're ultimately relying on a very Trump dominant government to get this done. So that's what we're really banking on. And hopefully, I'm hoping because of the past 4 years where everybody got absolutely destroyed economically by climate, by green policy. Like that was part of Biden's entire Inflation Explosion Act. It was about green policy and green energy. The voter rejected that, and I'm hoping the DC conglomerate like looks at that and goes, okay, well, I think we have permission to, tear up the entire like green economy. Let's see. What is the political future of El Paso County, Colorado? Does it flip in 28? I do not pay attention to Colorado.
The county itself, I don't think will, but I think the city of Colorado Springs will.
Okay, Colorado Springs. Okay, cool. see here. Oh, and just at the bottom, I see him come in. He may not want to talk a bunch, but I know you guys see him on stream at the bottom of the VC. It is your beloved Tyrone. Say hi to Tyrone, guys.
Hi, Tyrone.
Hi, Tyrone.
Very nice. All right, guys. So we're gonna go ahead. Let me see where we're going next. This is something that like actually really bothers me. I know he's been very milquetoast, but I want you guys to give me your thoughts on this next part. I'm going to show you. It's about 20 seconds ahead. This is relating to, and I'll slow it down just so you guys can hear it. This part's about having a fair process for the Trump nominees. Listen to Thune's language and tell me what you get off of him while he's saying this.
And we'll ensure that they get a confirmation hearing, an opportunity to make their case, answer the hard questions that inevitably are going to come, and perform the role that the Senate has in terms of advice and consent. But I also believe that the president deserves, I defer to the president, when it comes to his picks, and I would say this of any president, they deserve a lot of latitude. And I think that, his picks are going to come through a process where if they get reported out of the committee, come across the floor of the Senate, we'll make sure that they get the vote. And I think that I suspect a lot of them will get through. And we'll see about all of them. Remains to be seen. But I think that's why we have the process, and we will adhere to that process and give all of these nominees an opportunity to make their case.
You've said you have to see if Democrats play ball or not, but you don't need Democrats to get these through. So does that mean you already know some of your Republican senators won't vote to confirm Kash Patel at the FBI or Pete Hegseth at the Pentagon?
We don't have, at this point, I don't think, clarity on that. I think these are nominees who are new enough. They've been going around and conducting their meetings, which I think, frankly, have gone very well, but they still have to make their case in front of the committee. And, we don't know all the information about some of these nominees. I think we know a lot about them, but they deserve a fair process, and that's what we've committed to and promised, and I expect to deliver on. And ultimately, whether or not they get through that process is going to be up to each individual senator and how they decide to vote. We have a 3-vote margin in the Senate, as you point out, but I do think that in most cases, at least, most of our Republican senators are inclined to give the president the people that he wants in these positions, given the process that they go through and whether or not they can manage the committee process and ensure that they get to the floor for vote.
Does that include FBI background checks? I know often the ranking members get them on armed services, for example, but some of your colleagues, they want to see Pete Hegseth's FBI background check before they vote.
Right, and I think that's going to be determined largely by the committee chairs. I think there will be an interest, obviously. Well, sure. I mean, I think that you want to have as much background as possible that is available to the committees as they make their decisions. But I have a lot of confidence in our committee chairs. One of the things that I've made a focus of, at least my leadership here, is to get the committees functioning again in a way, ensuring that the committee chairs and individual members of the committee have an opportunity to make sure their voices are heard in the process and that we take advantage of the talent that we have on those individual committees. So I have a high level of confidence in our chairs that they will ensure that as members of the committee and of the full Senate have an opportunity to consider these nominees, that they've got all of the information available to them that they should have.
One of your colleagues told me you are a count the votes guy. You're not a twist the arm guy.
Okay, we'll go to that in a second. The count the votes, twist the arm thing. But there's a few different things. It's talking. We've been talking about. They've been talking about the fair process, and I feel like it's like Thune slides back and forth. Like he uses that phrase that we hear over and over again. Well, I think the president deserves latitude in his decisions, which, we'd all be like, good, thumbs up. Yeah, president gets to pick his own things. But he casts this air of uncertainty over getting them through, which I think is really strange because every single other source that I found right now online is saying, oh, RFK's got his stuff, Tulsi's going to be good. Like I've heard a lot down the grapevine that we're going to be good to go, and that we even have at least one Democrat reaching across the aisle for all of the confirmations in Senator Fetterman. So I'm like sitting here wondering, well, why would Thune talk like this if it's more of an assured thing than that? What do you guys think?
What I was getting from most of that is he wants to say no, but he knows he can't really say that, so he needs to accentuate the fact that there's a fair process, that there is a process. Yeah.
No, like that's really what I'm getting out of it, and I believe it might be in the other interview, but in talking to these two women, he does get asked at one point, like, "Oh, are there people you don't want to confirm?" And in spite of saying that he wants the president to have quote latitude, he alludes to not wanting to vote for some of them, and then he, like you said, he goes process. There's a process. You need to conform to the process, and so that's like really what I'm reading off of it is number one, he and just like they're about to talk about, he doesn't want to twist arms. He doesn't want to force anyone to do anything. He doesn't want to actually push the agenda. He's just like, oh well, I'll count the votes, and if Trump gets what he wants, he gets what he wants. If he doesn't, he doesn't. And that to me signals I'm going to be paying very close attention to the vote, because man, that sounds like Thune's going to try and keep people out, at least to my ears. I do not like that specific language. Let me see here. I think Tulsi and RFK have the votes from Missouri 7th, but Patel and Hegseth might not have the votes, like the Liberal reporter said. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. Again, we may have a pinch hitter in Fetterman just blindly approving everything to look cordial and try to win his next bid, I believe in 28. So Fetterman might lean right just to try and get his voter base to vote for him again. Like a couple of these people might have like one or two senators. I know for a fact that Bernie has been counter signaling his party a little bit more than he used to. I don't know, but right now, it is strange to me. Not that Thune's being diplomatic. I mean, that's his job, right? His job is to be diplomatic. But ultimately, just like this language that he uses, where he's like, well, the process is the process, and process. Oh, you think there's people I don't want to vote for? Well, there's a process, and I'll after I finish processing, I'll process no. Like that's what I hear. That's what I hear him saying is like, I'm gonna say no on some of these people, and that ultimately makes me deeply skeptical of Thune's leadership here. If you're asking me like, well, what would you have wanted him to say? I would have wanted Thune to be like, I have full confidence we're going to get Trump what he wants. I am going to push through. I am going to make this happen. I am the person that makes things happen. Like that seems like the strong thing to say. And I don't know why he like bends down on it unless he thinks he is that weak, if he's like that incapable of doing anything here. So let's see. They talk a little bit about recess appointments next, arm twisting. Basically, he admits that he's not going to really. I'll go ahead and let you guys listen to it. But here's the arm twisting part. So listen to this part. And give me your read on this.
All of the information available to them that they should have.
One of your colleagues told me you are a count the votes guy. You're not a twist the arm guy. Do you think that's fair?
Well, I think that, sometimes it depends a little bit on what your role is. The job that I have held now for the last 6 years, the whip job, differs if you're in the minority or in the majority. If you're in the majority, you need to get the votes. You're in the minority, you want to know where your vote count is, and you're playing defense as opposed to playing offense. They're very different roles. But I believe I understand my members, have worked with them all for a really long time, and I think whether it's actually counting, I think we're very accurate when it comes to counting. I take great pride in that and the work the team has done the last 6 years. But also, it's important to get the votes, and I believe when necessary, we know how to do that, and I've had to do that in the role that I have now.
Joe Manchin.
Okay, yeah. So he lands the plane pretty good, I think. The start was really weak, right? He's like like the start. I felt like I was listening to a breaking down engine. And he talked about it, and like I started laughing at that one part because do you hear what he said? He's like, "I'm a really good vote counter. We count very accurately." What do you guys make of that? Like the fucking like, oh, I count votes super well. What do you? think of that response to if he's a coward or if he's an arm twister. Oh
Yeah,
gosh.
he can pass the second grade very well, since he can count.
He doesn't need his hands to count past 10.
Exactly.
I can count to 50. I can count to 48. I might not count to 51, but I can count, sir. I can count. Give me the job. like, come on, bro.
That's all that's required for the job.
That or he's ambidextrous.
Hey Theo. I love Theo in the chat. Hello. My brain don't work quite
Hi,
right.
lady.
Yeah. And we got so even though we have the majority now, he's still in defense mode. Yeah, no, exactly. And that's what makes me really hesitant. You listen to Trump's other nominees. You hear Tom Homan, you listen to Stephen Miller, you listen to the people that are being put in the executive. They've got blood. There's blood in the water, and they're sharks. They're going out. They're gonna fish. They're gonna bite. They're gonna rah, 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 rah. Like it's like an absolute like torrent. And I feel like there's like a couple of senators that were previously senator elects that they absolutely had a bit. Who's the Senate Majority Whip right now? Actually, I would need to look that up real quick. Let me see. I don't remember who they put as Senate Majority Whip. Let's see. I'll look it up in a second. But yeah, I definitely think the dude is really lax on it. He's definitely on defense, and he shouldn't be. He needs to be on offense. Let's see. They talk about recess appointments, and he does a good job of articulating himself there. And essentially what he says with recess appointments, he's like, it's not about expediency or anything. He just ultimately says, I want the process to be fast. I don't want there to be any problems. Which of course, obviously, if you did recess appointments, it would be a shortcut, but he wants credit for getting it done in spite of whether or not it gets done. And so he's going to lean on, well, we need to make sure that I'll go ahead and play it, but it's a weird read off of him when he talks about recess appointments. Let's see here. Let's try to start it right about here.
The Senate entirely. Would you ask Mr. Trump not to do that?
Well, here's the thing, and you asked earlier about cooperation from the Democrats. I don't think the Democrats are going to give us any votes. I mean, I hope they do. I think they will on some nominees. I mean, I've got enough feedback, readouts, I think, from some of these meetings, and I think that some of the president's nominees will win Democrat votes. But by and large, their
Senator
leadership.
Rubio, for example.
Sure, yeah. I mean,
Tulsi Gabbard.
Well, but I mean, and I think there
Kash Patel.
we'll see. There's a whole bunch of nominees, some of whom will have more Democrat support than others. But I think in the end, the Democrat leadership in most cases is probably not going to be largely supportive of some of the president's picks, with maybe a few exceptions. But what's more important to me is not how they ultimately vote. You're right. You pointed this out. We have a majority. If we get 51 votes, Republican votes, we can win most of these nominees. But it's how much they drag that process out. And I pointed out to people that if you go back to President Obama, he had his first 12 cabinet nominees in 15 days. It took President Trump 42 days and President Biden 50 days. So we're moving in the wrong direction when it comes to giving a president the opportunity to get their people in place as quickly as possible. And so what I've said is we're going to keep, the options at our disposal to make sure that we are moving in a way consistent with the way the Senate functions and works that gets these folks an opportunity to be voted on in the Senate.
I want to ask you about what you need to get done.
Yeah, so if you can hear him through that, it's really like he runs around in circles with the things. And Midnight was saying in chat, Thune needs speech classes from Vance. I mean, that would be good for anybody. Vance is really good with debate and rhetoric. But yeah, ultimately, the reason Thune is struggling is not because he's a bad speaker. The Thune is struggling because he is incapable of saying what he means. He has to like roll around. And that's what makes me super skeptical of this guy. When you read it, like I said, this is about reading him. The politician's never going to tell you what he actually means. You have to like sit there and read him and figure out what the intent is. And this guy seems intent on doing nothing. Like that's genuinely what the feeling I get off of him. He will get the non-controversial cabinet picks through, and he will probably be part of stopping up the controversial picks. I mean, let me go ahead and give you guys context because I was keeping these for the start of the stream, but I'm going to go ahead and share a couple of these. Here's some quotes from John Thune. Back in 2020, he hopped on the George Floyd riots that stoked the flames of the Democrat base, and definitely harmed the 2020 election. Too many Black Americans live in fear that what happened to George Floyd could be their own fathers, sons, and brothers. We must continue to strive towards the full realization of America's founding promise that all men are created equal and liberty and justice for all, in all caps. That's what he freaking said.
I'm sorry. I hear, oh, that could have been our fathers and our brothers, and it's like, okay. I mean, we already knew this was like a really weird self-report, dog, but
like when you know what happened to George Floyd, and when you listen and you know about his drug overdose, and you know about what they found inside of his body and his bloodstream, like literally right now, Derek Chauvin is being allowed to test the heart tissue of George Floyd to see if he can use the drug content they find in his heart tissue as proof he didn't kill him, which is like the most insane thing ever to me. The most insane thing to me out of all of this. Yeah, and then here's John Thune in 2016 calling for Trump to withdraw and Mike Pence becoming the nominee effective immediately. Arrested for using counterfeit money and overdosing. That could have been me. Yeah, no, that's interesting statement from Thune. And then I just wanted to also show Thune has an F score, 51% from the Liberty Caucus. I should have done this at the start of the stream, but I just like holding back. It's like, let's give Thune a fair shake. No, you guys need to know this. He confirmed Merrick Garland. He confirmed Antony Blinken. He confirmed Janet Yellen, Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury, Attorney General. He appointed and voted for all of the people that would try to screw Trump over. The Treasury, Janet Yellen, I don't know if you guys heard her during the convention, the Democrat convention, one of the most incompetent people that we've had at Secretary. She literally did not know about her own, I believe, jobs report at the time. Like she wasn't able to articulate her own jobs report, and she wasn't able to answer basic questions that a treasurer would know. It's really embarrassing. It is Trudeau administration levels embarrassing, like they have up in Canada. So yeah, he voted in the people that would prosecute Trump from the highest level. He passed a $19 billion spending bill in Trump's administration in 2019 without funding for the border. So he denied Trump his funding for the border in the middle of his administration. He fully surrendered earlier that year in February on the border wall entirely. It's literally like I'm going to show you guys real quick here. Just look at this. This is what the quote is. So just so you guys can see. The quote on Liberty is a conservative review is surrender on the border wall, empower drug cartels and human traffickers. What a ringing endorsement of John Thune. Oh my gosh. He voted to release dangerous criminals from federal prisons in 2018. And also he voted for the surveillance state. He voted for people's privacy to be invaded, for us to constantly track people. Now, you're going to find other people that were trying to give a good rap, like I think Rubio also voted for the surveillance state. I think even our homeboy from Texas, Ted Cruz, voted for the surveillance state. These people in Republican Congress, they do not care about your individual freedoms. They're just like, whatever. You know, you guys like guns, right? We'll let you have guns most of the time until we need like brownie points from the Dems, then we'll do like a bump stock ban or something. Oh gosh. Yeah, I know that was Trump, but oh good grief, it's disgusting how quickly they're willing to fold on everything that they believe. Okay, so we were doing that. The next part I actually like, which is reconciliation on border security and immigration. Thune supports getting it all done in one big fat bill. He wants to get all of that through and try to ram it. Now, that could turn sour depending on whether or not he's willing to squeeze some arms on the reconciliation bill. But I think the content of, and for anybody who doesn't know, it's basically they're trying to cram a bunch of stuff into one bill. If that turns out well, it's going to be good for us. But if he refuses to get some people that are like on the wayside, kind of milk toast about it all, it's gonna be really crappy, and it's gonna be a lot of egg on his face. So he really could screw himself over with that. But I like it because it's a bold move. He's taking a little bit of risk. He's actually trying to get stuff done, so I'll give him that much. So yeah, okay, here I'm gonna skip to the unforgivable sin, guys, okay? Unforgivable sin. And that is ultimately going to be how he responds to this woman about the cost of deportation. Here's why this live stream is existing, okay, guys?
I was waiting for this moment.
Yeah, here we go. Here's the part.
There are 1.4 million people here with deportation orders of removal against them. I've seen numbers that put the cost of expelling them at between 80 to 100 billion dollars annually. Can you get that kind of money in the first 100 days?
Well, I think that what we're trying to do is get an assessment from the people who are going to be in place. They're going to be implementing a lot of the president's policies when it comes to the border to determine what that resource allocation is going to need.
They don't know yet.
Well, I think that what we do know is we need physical barriers, we need technological barriers, we need more ICE agents, we need more Border Patrol agents, and yes, we're going to need ways of deporting people that are on that list that you mentioned. And so it's going to take some resources to do that, which is why I would argue that when the president takes office, and he's going to do a lot of things on the border by executive order, by executive action, that we're going to need to be able to provide the resources in order for him to do that. And that's why I've suggested that we take that border issue on right away and enable him to do the things that he needs to do.
Okay. See, here at the end, this is everything that Thune does. Thune starts with trying to like meet our expectations because he knows he can't get things done. And then like he knows that he'll be seen as weak and incompetent. So halfway through, he's like, well, I got to say like nice sounding things that make people think I'm on board with the agenda. That is my read of them. That is my read of this man. He always starts off as the spineless coward he actually is. And then he like slowly transitions into, well, you know, I'm going to give Trump what he needs. He's going to get the resources he needs. He's going to stuff. But ultimately in this conversation, I can play it again for you guys if you need to hear. But he ultimately says, oh, well, we can't realistically deport people. Like, you know, I think we should, he's like, well, let's focus on the criminals. And then he kind of sharpens this rhetoric in the second interview he does. But ultimately what he's getting down to is like, oh, well, I don't want to fund mass deportations, but I'll give you a little money to get rid of criminals. So, do you guys think that's okay?
No, it is not.
Not even in the slightest.
Yeah.
You can't walk that back, man. Like,
Yeah.
I just find the whole like, oh, it's a lot of. Sorry, you go.
No, you can go on. Don't worry.
All right, sorry. What I was about to say was more of him going, oh, yeah, this is going to expend a lot of resources as if, you know, they didn't spend like the last like 4 years expending resources to bus all of these people back and forth, whichever way in the state, though, right?
It's now the resources matter, apparently.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. The hypocrisy of this, in the midst of this, we're sending every single tiny little penny and scrap we can find inside of the Fed over to Ukraine right as we're speaking. Like not even like earlier this year, which was happening all the time, but like every week we hear it's like, oh, well, we found another $2 billion to send to Ukraine, guys. I hope you guys are cool with that. You know, like it's every week, guys. You guys see this every week where like they just find pocket change under the rug for Ukraine, but you know, and like ultimately now they're having this conversation. That's why it's so insufferable. But so insufferable when we're talking about resource allocation, which is what Thune contributes here. If Thune does not get Trump the resources he needs, then it doesn't matter how strong Tom Homan is on deportations. It doesn't matter what Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller want to do. They aren't going to be able to do anything if they don't have the funds, which is the most damning thing of all of this. Why is he not strong on this? Why is he so weak? and that's something that I don't think any of us can accept. Hello, Drago. Yeah, just to address that real quick, Red Guy, we're not going to talk about it too much, but there has been in the community, in y'all's Electabros community, I'm a little bit outside of y'all's community, and so I don't get as much flack for this, but the whole thing, you have a couple of like really contemptible loser people that are sending pizzas to people's houses and snickering over it, and then they wait to get like a rage reaction or whatever from all these people. It's like the most disgusting thing. And honestly, they don't deserve to be named. They don't deserve to be even mentioned. It's just really pathetic. I think they're pathetic losers. And yeah, no, doxing is always wrong, guys. It's like there's not even an argument to have about that. Why are you doxing people in your community? Why are you doxing over gay drama? Why are you making people's information more easily available to be exploited by genuine, like, you know, harmful leftists or other people? It makes zero sense to me. And it's very personal because it's people I've been getting along with, I've been getting to know. It really is absolutely, it's atrocious what's happening to my good friends from the rap stream. I think it's stupid. Yeah. Just a quick note on that. Pitiful, pathetic losers. They deserve nothing. Like think about like how much of a coward you are. Imagine how much of a coward you are when like you start the doxing, right? You get halfway through the doxing and you like see blowback on Twitter and you're like, oh no, well I wasn't involved in the doxing. And you know, and then you show up in people's Twitter spaces that you helped dox, and you're like, well, you know, really kind of like your fault that you got doxed. You know, it's your fault. And yeah, I think that's like really silly, bro. That's he went on to like Al Carbo's Twitter space, and the guy who I don't feel like deserves to be named, and frigging went around telling people and victim blaming everywhere. Like, oh yeah, well it's your fault you got doxed. Try to upset doxers less. That was his advice. His advice was try harder to not get doxed by being kinder to your doxers. Like, I can't, dude.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So no, if you know who I'm talking about, good. Shit all over him. But if you don't know who I'm talking about, don't bother. It's very sick, stupid cowards. And again, like I said, like they can get into legal trouble, and they're already kind of crapping their pants over the legal trouble aspect of it. But they're too impotent to actually do anything, and I don't think they're going to. Just a bunch of freaking cowards. A bunch of cowards potentially endangering the lives of my friends in the future. Very disgusting. Disgusting human beings. Yeah, no. The sole blame of doxing is the guy who leaked the info in the first place. Yeah, that's a good way to put it, man. I mean, if you don't provide the information in the first place, how are the people you're blaming for all of this supposed to do anything? So it's really dumb. And honestly, let me tell you guys something, okay? That guy and many other people on the internet, they think you are too stupid to actually process what's going on. And that's why you're being gaslit, and that's why like he's snickering behind his screen while he tells you all this stuff like, oh, it wasn't really my fault, it's actually your fault. You're debate me, bro. Debate me about doxing you, bro. Debate me, bro. Like this is someone who is so adjusted to looking down on everybody he speaks to and thinking of them as idiots that he thinks that he can get away with just saying the most retarded nonsense. That is the person you're dealing with. Yeah, no. I think Luke is having some trouble right now, but he's absolutely going to be back. If you can send him some prayers, send him some warm feelings, send him some love. He definitely needs it. But yeah, no, that's the main reason. Like, we've just had crappy stuff happening all over the place. Like, Trend kill, Tyrone's childhood dog just died. That's why he's not really talking on the stream. He was here a little bit, but he left. Tyrone's dog died. 2 of our friends got doxxed. It's just been like an absolutely atrocious, last couple of days. So yeah, no, not a good start off to 2025. And election Twitter, get your crap together. This gay drama's got to stop. Let me see here. Let's see.
What a week, huh? Captain, it's Tuesday.
Yeah, it's literally Monday, guys. Let's see. Yeah, we might go ahead and skip the rest of it because really we already heard Thune basically say he's not going to fund mass deportations. He is going to talk about increasing defense spending, and then the reporter's like, but tax cuts cost money, and then like, you know, it's this ridiculous charade where they pretend that spending matters when Republicans are in charge, and they pretend spending is amazing and beautiful when Democrats are in charge. So yeah, she's gonna like yell at Thune for a bit about tax cuts, and he's gonna articulate that he is a standard box Republican. And then, oh yeah, you know, I'll show you this part at the very end where like she's the most insufferable. Just so you know, you have to hate this woman. Yeah, check this out.
Wow, I love kabuki theater.
That's a different subject, but I would say every 1% increase in GDP and economic growth, we're told, generates about $3 trillion in additional tax revenue. So you're going to get some back in terms of a growth dividend, and there will be spending cuts. There's no question about it.
Hold on. Okay. Here, I need to give you a little bit of context for the moment. So let me trail it back a bit. Here we go.
Tax reform and reconciliation. The estimates are it could add $4 trillion over the next decade. Is that really something you think is going to pass on a party line vote and without any revenue spending cuts? You can't be comfortable.
There are it's current policy, so these are tax laws that will expire at the end of this year if Congress doesn't take action to extend them, and it would represent a $4 trillion tax increase on the American people if we don't extend that policy. We're going to have a very robust conversation about tax reform. I was a big part of it back in 2017 when we did the initial Trump tax cuts, and this time around there's a lot riding on it. There's a lot riding on it economically. I think regulatory policy, tax policy, energy policy are going to be really essential to the strength of the economy, how fast we can grow and expand and create better paying jobs in this country. So I'm a big believer in pro-growth tax policy. I believe you get a lot of that back through growth in additional revenue. Every 1%.
Not tariffs, as Mr. Trump has promised.
Well, that's a...
Yeah. So that was the exact moment I was talking about. I was like, just like the way that she acts, she shakes her head, the completely contentious, smug, I'm sorry, bitch aura that she gives off,
pro-growth
like right
tax policy. I believe you get a lot of that back through growth in additional revenue. Every 1%.
Not tariffs, as Mr. Trump has promised.
Well, that's a different subject, but I would say every 1% increase in GDP and economic growth.
So you're saying that you have a different economic strategy? You think Trump's tariffs aren't going to work out?
And it's like, oh my gosh, you insufferable woman. She brings it up randomly because like the current Democrat talking point that they're all throwing around the office is basically that tariffs are like the new incarnation of Satan, and how like tariffs are going to completely impoverish. This is like I don't understand this Democrat talking point, because we already went through tariffs. The tariffs not only worked, the tariffs not only made us better, but the tariffs stayed on when Biden became president. He kept a lot of Trump tariffs and then added tariffs because apparently Biden liked making money off of them. So like the idea that like tariffs are supposed to impoverish our country when used strategically like Trump wants to, completely nonsensical. It's only something that you can believe if you like shove your head into a bag of sand and then like read Bloomberg articles and then never actually look at real data. Like that is the only time that you could think that like the strategic tariffs Trump wants to do aren't going to help us. It's just I do not get it.
And that's something they've been really drilling recently.
Yeah. No, it's been on the news all the time. They basically like three straight months of programming.
Trump's tariffs will destroy your family, your home, your livelihood. Accept neoliberalism, please.
You need to import 12 million Mexicans, or you're going to be eating scraps out of a trash can.
Yeah, basically.
These tariffs have brought a plague upon my people and destroyed my crops.
yeah, actually. John will say the B word on like rap based. I'm not a big fan of the B word, but I will use it, especially when someone is being a bitch. Like she was absolutely
every
nonsensical woman. I just hate her smug aura. She's so bad. But you know what? This reporter from CBS is not actually as bad. Margaret Brennan is not as bad.
Senate Majority
as this one. So it's a good transition over to this interview which we've got in 480p. Glorious 480p.
Boy.
You should be thanking me. You should be thanking me.
Oh boy! Every time I see that rainbow icon at the bottom right, you're gonna hear some drivel when that icon pops up.
NBC. They generally think you're dumb and don't understand tariffs and protectionism. But like ultimately, like what Trump does, and what I'd argue, Toga, like Trump doesn't even do like pure paleoconservative protectionist policy. He's very hard on reciprocal tariffs, which, you know, it's just basically treat other people how they screw you over. If they're screwing you over, then kind of punch them in the face and tell them to stop screwing you over. That's like a lot of like Trump's tariff policy. And it's one of the most consistent things Trump has stated from the very beginning. Is like, people are ripping us off. Everyone's ripping us off, and they need ideally everyone is paying us, not us randomly like throwing out money because we just love people so much. Like, that's ultimately, if we're running the world, if we're protecting the waters, if we're providing world peace in some way for like 80%, 90% of the world at any given point in time, like, yeah, no, you guys are going to pay a fee. I'm sorry, bro. If you want access to our markets, sorry, bro. And I think that's like a very, it is protectionist. It is not ultimately free market, but, and like I said, I have some very strong free market, like not libertarians, but very strong free market people, Austrian economists that I'm friends with, and they're like, yeah, no, Trump's tariffs make sense in the context that we're living in. It's nuance. It's if you want to like plant ideology onto Trump, you're going to fail, because Trump's not an ideological person. And someone said in chat earlier when I said that, well, Trump's America first. Yes. He looks at every situation and he thinks about it, and he's like, for some reason, he has this knack for like determining the one thing that is probably the best decision for Americans overall. And that's I would call that a praxis. It's more than like ideology. You're like kind of serving these thoughts and ideas and these lofty things in like a praxis and like a way of doing things. It's like, well, there's just a filter, or like there's a bar set for every single decision you make, and if it doesn't meet that bar, then you're going. It's a little bit different from ideology. It's not the exact same. I see Trump as super pragmatic in that regard. Hello, Syndix Bunny. It's nice to see you, man. Long time mutual. Good to see you. We really should want an Austrian economist for our Treasury Secretary of the Fed budget. That was the most hilarious thing, though, about the campaign trail, was when JD and Trump would mock the Federal Reserve, right? So Trump mocked the Federal Reserve, and he's like, you have a guy in there, they treat him like God, and all he does is every 6 months he walks into a room and flips a coin. And if he shits his pants, then he does one thing, and if he doesn't, he does another. It's like, so that was beautiful rhetoric from Trump. And then Vance was like, well, yeah, it's like a lot of problems come from the Federal Reserve. We have some sleeper anti-central bank people in some of the highest positions of the country, at least people that want to reform the Fed and change who controls it, because right now it is absolutely a disaster that we don't have control over that. Mentos wave for head of the Federal Reserve. Mentos, yeah, I like that typo, man. Anyways, so at the start of this, to give credit to NBC and this reporter that I hate, they started with the terror attack, and they were willing to like spend some time talking about it and kind of mulling it over, like, oh, wasn't that horrible? And of course, it takes about 1 minute to get off that topic. So they gave the horrible attack that is entirely the fault of open borders and terrorist organizations operating openly in the United States. They give that 60 seconds, and then they're like, okay, but Trump's nominees are very shaky. And that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with that.
posed by ISIS, quote, is a clear example of why the Senate must get President Trump's national security team in place as quickly as possible. As you know, there are Senate Republicans who say they still have questions about the qualifications, about the character of some of President-elect Trump's picks, from Pete Hegseth to Tulsi Gabbard. As we sit here today, are you prepared to vote yes on all of his nominees?
Well, it's a process, and we're gonna. What I've promised them is a fair.
It's a process, guys.
God damn.
Process.
Like, it's the process. It's just, why is it hard to get this yes or no? Like, either I like them, or no, I don't like. Why? Oh, it's a process. Is he just trying to soften the blow of saying no? That's what it feels like.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like.
Probably.
I would not. Thune has at least one candidate he wants to vote no on, and he isn't wanting to be open about it, so he can't answer a simple yes or no question from a reporter. Yes or no, will you block any of these nominations? It's a process. And so, and the way I read it, my read is, well, the process will happen, and it'll go from start to finish, and I will be smarter at the end when I block people after the process because I gave them a real fair shake. That's what it sounds like Thune's saying to me. He's going to give them a fair shake. It's a process. Yeah, Riley. Hey, by the way, hey, Riley. Nice to see you. It's a process. It's a process, guys. Okay. Let's see. And basically, it is a process. So, like, you guys now see the Thune curve, right? So the Thune curve is, he tells the truth in like the first 10 to 15 seconds of when he's speaking, and then he tries to smooth it out. And when he lands the plane at the end of whatever he's saying, then he's like, well, I'm a MAGA. He's like, he tries to sound like a MAGA Republican at the end of what he says, and at the start, he's being himself. He's being Thune. So, hope you guys caught on to that. But yeah, so then she presses him a little bit more later down the line. So let's go ahead and listen to that pressing.
My hope and expectation is that the president will get the people that he wants in place to implement his agenda.
Landing the plane.
And I hear you say there's a process, but you're not prepared to say you're a yes, you're a rubber stamp on all of these nominees at this point.
Well, that's why we have a process. And
there we
He said the line. He said the line.
The process.
I've met with them. There are some of them I think that I've.
What are you saying, Rice? Oh gosh. Oh.
He did it. He said the thing.
Yeah, he said the thing. He said
really
the line.
Impressed by, and I think there are, as they go through the process, there will be opportunities throughout that where senators will have opportunities to make sure they're getting their questions answered, and we'll see. I mean, I think this is a again, that's why we have the checks and balances in our system that we have. But my expectation is, and as the leader of the Senate, that we're going to get the president, his people, as quickly as possible.
So he's literally saying the same thing over and over again, right?
It's the same song and dance with every question.
Yeah. He starts shaky, 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 and then a lot of word salad, and then the end. Oh, I'm a MAGA Republican. I'm a MAGA Republican, guys. You cannot criticize me. I'm a MAGA Republican, even though I didn't support Trump in the primaries. But
guys, I believe in the process. All right, like I've always ran my campaign and my belief in the process. The process is good.
He's such a I don't think
the process. You got to trust the process.
When you talk about primarying Thune, I don't think that's the way to go with Thune. I think ultimately he's not going to be able to lose his seat of power. But what we really have to do with Thune is bring him to heel. And when I say bring him to heel, what I mean is you put his feet to the fire. You make your X posts all the time, banging the pie every single time he even looks the wrong direction or he smells kind of funny one day. You give him hell. And you give him hell, not because you're being mean, not because you're like a mean online internet troll, but because you want things to happen and you want him to feel the heat. We are the heat. We are the flames. They don't get anything done if they don't feel they have to. So that's what I really want. I want everybody, whether you email Thune or whether you're directly tweeting at him or you're just give him a piece of your freaking mind, however you can. And I think also what we do is we talk through other senators, right? Because we may not be able to hear him directly. All of his emails may go to associates that never see his stuff, but he's going to have to listen to his fellow senators. And when they take the floor, they can say everything to him. So, find our allies over in the Senate. They don't have to be perfect. Just find the people who will parrot what we're saying and get this crap done. Dox Thune. Riley with an incredibly 400 IQ play. We're doxing John Thune, guys. It's time. No, don't do that.
I think he needs a couple pepperoni pizzas.
Yeah,
I think Thune's a little hungry.
Well, yeah, if Rapp and Luke are worthy of pepperoni pizzas and some random Catholic Squidward avatar on freaking Twitter, like if those are the people worthy of pizzas, John Thune deserves like 8,000 pizzas, guys. He can pay for it. Don't worry. Let's see. But yeah, and then there's like this like really like hyped hysteria, which I don't want to like listen to all the way through. But here, just listen to the hysteria from this woman, just because this woman is so insufferable.
Kash Patel, in his book, as you know, as has been reported, he has a list of 60 people he calls members of the so-called deep state. Are you certain that Kash Patel's priorities would be fighting crime, protecting national security, rather than settling political scores?
Oh my!
Dare help!
How dare Kash Patel like name she's offended because he named them. He called them out, as you would say, name the Jew. He named the Jew inside of the state. Like that's literally what he did. So she's like freaking out. She's like, national security, defense. So yeah, no, it's like having an absolute conniption, and then John Thune's like, I think Kash Patel understands the agenda, and then she's like, are you sure? And then he's like, yeah, I think he's got it. So let's skip over here to about 450. Okay. So there's gonna be a little bit of preamble to this, but in about 30 seconds, I had my next clip where he talks about, once again, the fair process. Process, guys. Trust the process.
The American people, and also being accountable to the same.
When you say you think he does understand the mission, does that mean, yes, you do think he will put national security ahead of settling political scores?
Well, in my conversations with him, and I've not talked a lot about the meetings that I've had, but I felt like he fully understood, I think, what is expected, and I think what the president wants out of the agency. I feel confident that he gets what his job is going to be if he gets.
I like the way that he voices confidence, and it's like, he's got it. It's like, oh, like this. How is this guy a leader? Like, how's this guy a leader of anything when he talks like that? It's like, yeah, I guess I think he's okay. He's like, it's kind of all right. Like the way you talk as a Senate leader is you go, I have full confidence in my president's pick. Kash Patel will do the American duty. He will fulfill all obligations. Like that's how you speak. Like you speak with confidence. You speak comfortably. And like everything about Thune is uncomfortable. It's like he's just like a
very wishy-washy.
Oh, super wishy-washy. Super wishy-washy. Someone explain the pepperoni pizza thing. Oh yeah, go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, very cuck chair kind of way of talking, honestly.
He's in the cuck chair.
Like, what do you think of your wife's boyfriend? Oh, he's okay. I like him.
my wife's boyfriend's all right, I don't really like him when he's in her bedroom, but like he bought me like a Nintendo Switch once, and I really liked it.
Yeah, like I got Animal Crossing on it, and so yeah, it's okay. Like, I guess he's all right.
Like, if I really focus in on my villagers, I can't hear the plapping sounds on the other room of the corner. It's like really no, but yeah, but. Anyways, yeah, that's basically Thune. In this context, to further the metaphor or whatever, it's the Dems. It's the Senate Dems. It's Schumer. It's the whole cabal. That is, he wants to be the Republican. I swear, like you can call me out if I'm wrong, Thune, like if Thune is Trump's strongest soldier, then I will be totally wrong right now. But and ultimately, I want him to be good, and that's part of why I want you guys to like really, really go after and just tell him what we believe, what we feel, and what's important. Like I feel like being loud right now is like one of the most important things you can do. But yeah, like I'll have egg on my face if he turns out to be Trump's strongest soldier. I just feel kind of comfortable like saying that's not what's going to happen.
Yeah, but that's not a bad thing. If you turn out to be wrong, I mean, that's good for us.
Right. I think this is a situation where it wouldn't really be all that bad to be wrong about this kind of thing.
Yeah, like it's one of those things where we were better off yelling at this guy to make sure that our agenda gets pushed rather than just sitting around saying, well, I hope he's okay.
I would love, like between me and Senator John Thune, I would love to be the idiot. I would love to be the person that's wrong. If Senator Thune does everything he's supposed to, and I have egg on my face, like hallelujah, praise the Lord. You know, I gotta go thank God now. You know, it's like, but if it's the other way around, we have a problem, and we need a new Senate leader, and hopefully we can get. We really just want to propel the MAGA base that's in the Senate, because there are a number of people in the Senate that are MAGA people. Bare minimum, quarter of the Republican Senate is MAGA, but I think it's closer to like maybe 17, 18, 20. I feel like we just have a lot of very weak-minded people in that need MAGA to show its bones, to show its strength, and then they will, you know, come out of the closet and be like, yeah, I'm super MAGA, guys. Let's see here. Looking at the thing. Yeah, Grim wanted me to explain the pizza thing. What does it mean when someone sends a pizza to your house? It means that they want you to know, I know where you live, kiddo. I can do whatever I want. I can take pictures of you sleeping. I can mess with your family. You know, like that's the point of sending someone a pizza. The point of sending someone a pizza is, I know where you live. It's a threat that can be explained away as like a kindness or a gift or whatever else, like very shady way of telling someone, I know where you live. But let's see. Patel's gonna come in with a stick and start breaking legs. Crank, I hope to God that's what happens. And I wish, like, if Thune was saying stuff like that, I wouldn't give him a single iota of grief. If Thune came in and he was like, we have an entirely broken justice system. We have to gut these departments, and Kash Patel is the man to do it. No, but he won't say that. And the reason he won't say that, I'll put it back up on the screen for you guys. He voted for Merrick Garland. He is one of the Republicans who wanted, ultimately, Donald Trump to rot in prison for the rest of his life and then rot in hell after he dies. That is John Thune. And that is why I'm not so super trustworthy. Oh yeah, I saw you were talking about that, Thomas, in the last stream. I am not going to speculate on that. I don't even think Vance is going to pick Hawley as his VP, so I don't really want to talk about that. But in terms of the alignment, the last part of the thing, yeah, no. We're entering the new political system. The working class, the middle bracket, is the new Republican Party. We have a division in Republicans between the country club, which are the old Republicans that think they're still catering to just, the upper class and their gullible idiots down below. Like that's what the old country club Republicans are. That's George H.W. Bush. But then you have over here the new class, which is going to be led by Vance, where we're not like totally unionist and we don't approach work the exact same way that Democrats do because we're not socialists, but ultimately everything that we advocate for, foreign policy, tariffs, trade, and in terms of immigration, immigration has everything to do with protecting that working class. And that's why we discuss it so often and why it's the most important thing. Yeah, that alignment is real, and I will die on an altar before I let people let that go. I think it's like one of the most important pivots in American politics, actually defending the middle guy, not the heavily subsidized poor, not the unfathomably rich, but the guy in the middle who wants to own basic assets. That's the guy. Those are the people that make the republic work. If we lose those people and we turn into a society of serfs and rich people, we're not going to have a republic anymore. It's going to turn into a pure democracy. We're going to have mob revolt. Everything's going to fall apart. Like the systems we have in place will fall apart if we do not protect this class of people. That's why we have to do it. Yeah. Anyways, taking a look here. So, oh yeah. So we're getting into the fair process stuff. So, well, we'll go ahead and do it. Oh yeah, earlier he had this thing about disagreeing with Trump, and there's nothing really meaningful here, but I'll just let you listen to it real quick.
The FBI is an agency that I think is in need of reform and needs a good makeover, so to speak, and probably a good amount of house cleaning when it comes to just the perception the American people have of it. And these institutions that the American people need to have confidence and trust in, I think that confidence and trust is largely eroded, and there's an opportunity to fix that. I think that's what I sat down and met with him. I think he understands that's the mission, and if he's successful through the nomination process, I hope that he will take very seriously that responsibility and focus on what he can do to make the FBI operate in a way that is protecting the American people and also being accountable to the same.
When you say you think he does understand the mission, does that mean, yes, you do think he will put national security ahead of settling political scores?
Well, in my conversations with him, and I've not talked a lot about the meetings that I've had, but I felt like he fully understood, I think, what is expected, and I think what the president wants out of the agency. I feel confident that he gets what his job is going to be if he gets over there. And I think that as he goes through the process, more members will have an opportunity to ask the questions of him. But I think at least based on my conversations with him, I feel very good about that.
Are you a yes?
Okay. Mealy mouth. Landing the plane. He landed the plane with Cash Patel. He landed the plane here. This is the part that I was trying to get to right here.
On Cash Patel?
Well, I'm not, I haven't been advertising or disclosing my positions on individual nominees at this point just yet. But my job is to make sure they get a fair process. And so.
All right, now listen here, Fat. They get a fair process.
Listen here. They get
Trust the process.
Trust the process, guys.
My favorite, Senator John Process.
Yeah, that's his new name, guys. Senator John Process. It's like John Halo. It's like John Call of Duty. This is John Process. Oh gosh. Well, yeah, let me see here. Thomas, like real quick on all the stuff, like the imperialism that Trump's been grifting on. The Conservative Party of Canada will, over their dead hands, join into a union with the U.S. They will not become the 51st state. They would probably all like mass seppuku in the parliament before they did that. That's how strongly they feel about what Trump said. Greenland, we can take Greenland. Like we can ultimately force Denmark into a deal, and I think that's what's going to happen. It's a national security thing. I hope it happens. We should all hope it happens. And I mean, really, Denmark does not actually have negotiations for if we just, kind of walk in and take it. And then we're like, hey, guys, you want your compensation for totally agreeing to sell us Greenland? Like they can't do anything.
Yeah, and honestly, like what would realistically, right? What can they do about it?
Yeah, it's like they can't do anything.
What are the Danish gonna do? Throw bacon at American troops? Maybe try to get them to slip off of Lorpak butter. It would make sense.
Yeah, it's really fun. Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry. I was gonna say, yeah, he should probably, when it comes to foreign policy and like neo-imperialism, whatever he's going for here. I think it should focus on Greenland and also the Panama Canal. Those are much more realistic goals, in my opinion, over Canada. Like, that's an entire country. There's, like you said, there's no way that's ever really going to realistically happen. I don't really know like what he's trying to what he's trying to achieve, I guess, making these statements about Canada. But
Kevin O'Leary showed up at Mar-a-Lago the other night and talked to him over dinner because, Kevin O'Leary tried to enter into Canadian politics, but was deeply unsuccessful. Ultimately, like, that guy, he's a celebrity from Shark Tank, but he's a Canadian. And he tried to convince Trump at Mar-a-Lago to enter not like a physical union of like political union, but an economic union. He like the EEC before it became the EU. He tried to convince Trump that that's something they could do. And this may be what maybe he thinks Kevin O'Leary's idea has merit. And maybe he thinks, well, if I keep telling them that they're the 51st state, and those are his words, not mine, Syndex. He just keeps saying 51st state. If he keeps telling Canada they're the 51st state, then eventually they come around and then they're like, oh, well, we've been thinking about it and we definitely won't be a state, but we'll enter into economic union with you. He's thinking that he might be able to get that. My take, the Canadians have been really like aggressive. It's the one thing they've been actually aggressive about when brought up. I think that under Poilievre, there's zero chance of any like union with Canada. And yeah, I agree with what Anthrax over here is saying, which is focus on Greenland, occupy Greenland, give them money for Greenland, and then literally get all of the Chinese troops out of the Panama Canal. We will control the Panama Canal, and that's and the country of Panama will have to deal with that. Like
just
whatever.
Cause two.
Yeah. Yeah. The agreement to annex Canada is a lot more bipolar than I thought. Well, yeah, no, I mean, it really is a rubber to the road thing of like practical reality versus the dream. There's so many benefits to it, and it's a wonderful dream, especially like some people thinking long term are like, well, if we end up in World War III, Canada is extremely important strategic clay, especially if we're in war with China or Russia or both. Canada is essential. And I've heard a lot of people argue we can't trust Canada to actually do anything. So that's like one angle for it. And I understand what they're going with that. But yeah, that is ultimately like a bit of a pipe dream. Reality just hits hard. None of the politicians are open right now. It's not about the country. It's about sending a message. Sandman's exactly on point. That's exactly it, Sandman. It's like it's not about actually getting into union. It's about putting your balls on the pavement, putting your balls on the table and being like, yes, this is America. And reasserting yourself on the international stage. I think that's what Trump's doing. I think it's very good optics. Makes people scared of us.
It's strategically smart.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mr. Fair Process Man tells us more about that, and then he reiterates his terrible talking points right here on illegal deportations. Get ready, guys. More deportation talk
underway.
Let's talk about the Republicans' agenda.
Yeah.
When I spoke with President-elect Donald Trump, he said that his mass deportation plan was his top priority. He wants to deport everyone who is here illegally. Do you support that plan to deport everyone who is here illegally?
Well,
okay. So understand how she just framed it. She didn't just, so at the start, she says, this is Trump's most important plan. Second half, do you support getting rid of all the illegals? So she's pairing these things together. Do you oppose Trump's agenda? And she's making the bar for opposing Trump's agenda, getting rid of every single illegal in the country. And the disingenuous nature of that, this woman had a post-election interview with Trump. And Trump in that interview essentially stated we need to do as many as possible. And it's like, and what JD and Trump have both been saying is like, we're going to do everything that we can. We're going to go as far as we can and like worry about what is quote unquote realistic later. Like that is ultimately what their position is. And so now she's saying, well, So Trump wants to remove literally every single illegal in the country, which in parentheses totally impossible in parentheses. What do you think? And this is Thune's answer. Listen to Thune.
I think there are certainly there are categories, people who have committed crimes. There are over 1 million people that the current administration had targeted for deportation. And so I think that we have to take seriously the fact that there are a lot of people in this country today, over 10 million, who've come in just in the last 4 years under this administration's policies, many of whom are not here for good reasons. I mean, we know we've apprehended almost 300 people at the southern border. They're on the terrorist watch list. And you've got criminals and cartel members and gang members and all of the above. So I think that as we think about what those next steps are, the first thing is securing that border and making sure that we change the incentive structure so people are incentivized to come here illegally, which they have been for the past 4 years, and that we do everything to ensure that the border personnel, the ICE agents and border agents have the resources that they need to do their job. Now, some of that means physical barriers, some of it means technological barriers, et cetera. And those are all going to require resources, and then some is going to require deportation of certain people who are here illegally. How that gets translated into actual policy and action will be a function of the new border czar and Homeland Security Department secretary, who will be our Governor, Kristi Noem.
Okay, so before I say anything, does anybody want to give their take on what that just sounded like? What did Thune just say he's going to do? Because I have an idea of what he said, but I want to hear it from somebody else of what you guys think he's actually saying.
To me, it sounded like he said he's going to do nothing.
Yeah.
Like, it sounded like, oh, well, we're going to try to do more, get rid of more of the bad people. And, there are different categories. It's like, okay, but that's not the answer. Do you support it or not? It just sounds like he's just going to sit there and watch, especially at the end. He said, well, it's going to be the job of the border czar, Tom Homan, and Homeland Security. And it's like, you're the Senate leader. You're not going to give them funding. You're the one giving them resources. If you sit there and say, it's not my issue, well, then they're going to...
Good luck, guys.
Yeah, good luck. It ain't my problem. It's your problem. Yeah, if they don't have the funding, what are they going to do? Just stare at the wall all day? Beg for money?
Please go back. We just have to ask you real nicely. We don't have the resources to actually throw you over there. We're just going to ask you nicely if you can just go on your own merit.
Yeah.
Would you kindly leave the country?
Kindly leave.
Kindly, it's like Biden's foreign policy. Whenever someone's like, what do you think about Palestine attacking Israel? What do you think about Iran striking missiles on Israel? And he goes, don't.
Just don't.
Yep, just don't. Just don't. I will be very, very upset with you if you did, young man.
Well, okay, so Missouri is also bringing up the funding, and the reason I thought it was significant and why you guys also noticed it is because we've already listened to the border czar. We've listened to Homan. And ultimately, in that whole process, Homan ultimately had a mission. He had an assignment, and he wanted. He told everybody on interview with Tucker Carlson, on interview with mainstream media, I need money. I need money, and if I don't, and what I get done is depending on how big my purse is. And he's like, well, if I get money, I'm going to use every single freaking penny. I'm going to remove as many people as possible from this country. Like, that's the way Homan speaks. So the people in charge of the executive branch are totally on page and in sync with Trump. That's great. But their money comes from Thune. And he's shifting responsibility before he's even given them any money. That's what I'm seeing. You guys are seeing it. I'm seeing it. We're not all schizophrenic. At least one of us has to not be schizophrenic. Thune, and so Crank was saying Thune sounded like he didn't think any deportations were likely, and he just backed down to slowing the people coming in. Yeah. No, so that was something else I picked up on too. Thune sounded like he didn't want any deportations. I would say I would go a little bit lighter and say Thune ultimately is okay with deporting criminals as like a thought, like maybe if this happens, it'll be cool. But you guys hear what he's saying? What he's not talking about deportations. You have to strangle the word deportation out of his mouth. The only thing you can get him to say is, secure the border. Do you know how long Republicans have spoken about securing the border? This is a talking point that goes decades upon decades upon decades. They just say it every single time. Well, we need to secure the border. We need to secure the border. They don't mean it. They never meant it. And usually, like, securing the border means, like, oh, well, when they're doing their next set of tax cuts, they like ask the Democrats, pretty please, will you like let us do like this one thing? And yeah. Right now, the current bar that we were getting with the Democrats, just to pick context, guys, they did not want to fund more physical barrier. They wanted to fund like radar and stuff. Like that's where they were. That's where we were at. Like the things that will detect people crossing the border, but not physical barriers to keep them out.
So here's another thing that I just thought of. Remember when Trump first won the election? It was like 2-3 weeks after he won. He was talking about using the National Emergency Act. I don't know what it's called specifically.
Oh,
but essentially
yeah.
using
Some
the
really,
military.
really old, some really old law of some kind.
Yeah, declaring a national emergency and using that to secure funds. Was Thune against that? Or was he for that? I don't.
In the previous, they talked briefly about that in the previous interview. I can pull it up at about 1440 was where I had it. Let's see what's going on. This should be the part about defense spending.
Do that, and that's why I've suggested that we take that border issue on right away and enable him to do the things that he needs to do.
Is it true you're going to put some defense spending in that as well?
Well, I think one of the things that we always argue about around here is the amount of money that we need to spend on defense, and clearly that is an issue where if you look at every Biden administration budget, there wasn't a single one of them when it came to military spending that kept up even with inflation. So we have a military readiness in this country. You know, we have the Defense Commission Strategy Group that comes out with a report all the time and tells us we are dramatically underfunded relative to countries like China, and that we don't have the capacity.
Issues, right?
Well, and we don't have the capacity and the capability to do what needs to be done to protect the country. So my argument would be, and yes, those should be bipartisan, but it is very difficult in my experience around here. There's a big difference in delta in the two parties and how they approach the issue of defense and military readiness. And I think we are dramatically underfunding our military today. I think the president believes that, President Trump, and I think a lot of our Republican colleagues in the House, the Senate share that view.
So there's a reason I asked you about this.
Yeah.
Right? Because if he's against using the defense budget as a way to fund the border security, which is a lot of other senators, I think Rand Paul as well was against it, saying no, he should not use the military and send them to secure the border. My question is, doesn't that just basically block Trump from getting any funding to the border? So he can't get it through the Senate. He can't get it from defense. It feels like he's just purposefully putting blocks. It's not just doing nothing. It's almost he's being counterproductive. Like he sees
impeding the process.
Yeah, he's impeding the process because if he doesn't want it coming through defense and he doesn't want it coming through Senate funding, then where's it going to come from?
I thought Senator John Process loved process. Why is he trying to stop
exactly.
Yeah, he doesn't like the process. He doesn't trust the process anymore. What's going on, John Process? What's the deal?
He loves the process. I love the process, and he wants to, make things go smoothly. But this sounds like he's putting blocks in front of it. He's giving Trump a hard time, not letting him actually find the funding he needs for border security.
No,
which is it feels strange to me.
I totally agree. I think he's going to block the appropriate funding. He might give him a tiny bit of money, like a peasant token for border security. And also, like, I didn't take that out of context. Like, that wasn't just like a general question about defense spending. That interviewer from CBS was asking him explicitly about using the defense budget for the migrant problem. And it really is, because right before that question, they're talking about the cost of deportation. And so then right after that, she's like, well, how do you feel about using defense spending? John Thune completely ignores the question.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He's just like, well, it should be important as an issue to make sure that our defense spending keeps up with the necessary, for all the requirements that the military needs for national security when competing with Russia. That's not what you got asked, is are you willing to let the military use its money for border security? Yes or no?
Ultimately, the reason the reporter let him get away with that is because she doesn't want it to even be in the question either. And so, yeah, they're literally all like complicit in trying to make this administration fail. And really, it's up to Trump and his massive set of steel balls to get these things in order. That's why I want to help him. That's like, I wouldn't like randomly pick a fight with Thune just because. It's really important to put his feet against the fire, because if he doesn't know that he's going to get backlash, if he doesn't know we hate this, it ultimately is really going to be a problem for us in the long term. Yeah, Missouri. Yeah, here, like the full context. I'll show you like in my screen caps. I think I can show you here, but so this is the like sequence of events. I'll like type it in the chat so you can see. But like right here, 11:30. Reconciliation on border security immigration. So the reconciliation bill. 13, terrorist watch list. So they're talking about getting rid of people on the terrorist watch list. Minute 13:40, cost of deportation. And immediately after talking about the cost of deportation, she's like, okay, well, Trump has talked about using defense spending for that. How do you feel? 14 minutes, 40 seconds into the interview, he gives that mealy-mouthed response that completely ignores the question. Yeah, that was explicitly about immigration. Yeah, it's a load of crap. Yeah, anyways.
It is a load of crap.
Yeah, so the rest of this, we're back on the second interview now. After talking about not really wanting to deport hardly anyone, then the reporter changes to, oh, well, here, like, Trump's going to add trillions of dollars to the deficit. How dare you want to spend money? And we've kind of gone over how ridiculously hypocritical that is. But so 8 minutes talking about this. Actually, I forget exactly what he said here, so we'll listen to it for a little bit. Let's see.
Tax cuts. President-elect Trump has proposed a slew of tax cuts, extending the 2017 tax cuts, as well as further slashing the corporate rate, eliminating taxes on tips. The estimated price for everything he's proposing would exceed some $9 trillion. Are you comfortable adding $9 trillion to the national debt?
So she brings up a random number, $9 trillion. Sounds super scary. And understand, Harris stole all these ideas during the campaign. She literally stole all these ideas of taxing Social Security and tips and everything. Like, Harris would have added $1 grillion to the deficit. She's acting like that Trump's somehow evil for wanting to do the exact same thing as her when it actually benefits people. And these are things that Democrats would fall in love with if you told them. The only problem wrong with this picture is that we don't have a 90% income tax on rich people. Like, that's the only problem that they have with all the things that were just mentioned.
Well, I think you have to, first off, look at what happens if we don't act by the end of the year. And that's a $4 trillion tax increase on the American people, because that's essentially what you're talking about if we don't extend the 2017 tax law. The president has had some other suggestions and ideas with respect to, that he would like to do in the area of tax reform, and we'll take those into consideration. But I think that we intend to ensure that we don't have a $4 trillion tax increase on the American people by December 31 of this year. And in order to do that, we've got to act collectively, House, Senate, and White House, to extend the 2017 tax cuts. Now, in doing that, I believe there will also be a robust conversation about whether we can find offsets and achieve reductions in spending that would help offset some of that. But then also, you've got to understand, too, that tax policy is directly connected to economic economic growth. And we've been told by all the experts, the Joint Committee on Taxation, Congressional Budget Office, that for every 1% increase in GDP, you generate about $3 trillion in additional tax revenue. Many of the tax provisions that are in law today that will be extended will have a very positive impact on growth in the economy. I'm somebody who believes in growth. With growth, you get better paying jobs, but you also generate more tax revenue. And I think that's something that isn't.
So yeah, basically it's just Thune being Thune. Like, this is all stuff. I like everything he's saying, obviously. None of it's particularly controversial. He's just being a Republican. This is like the minimum bar standard for being a Republican, focusing on growth and not eating the rich. But yeah, I had it labeled here because she's so insufferable. How dare you spend money? Now listen to this. I want you just to hear this question. We're not going to listen to Thune's answer because it's stupid. But listen to this answer from the reporter, just so you can know.
When people talk about deficit numbers.
You've said that the size of the national debt is actually a national security threat. You're talking about the 2017 tax cuts, but when you lump all of these other potential tax cuts onto it, it just balloons the debt. How would you pay for that? I hear you expressing some skepticism that the whole entire package could get done.
Well,
yeah, basically, you're freaking evil, bro. You're harming national security, bro. These are your words, and you think that if we let the deficit go up, we're endangering national security. How evil are you for supporting Trump's agenda? Like, that's the question in a nutshell. So absurd. And then we have, let's see here. Oh yeah, and again, we're not going to listen to this because Thune has terrible. Oh, you could hear it, but he's just going to kind of very mealy-mouth his way through it. We'll go ahead and listen to it. January 6th. Are you guys ready? January 6th. It's 4 years. It's 4 years.
Oh boy, my favorite.
January 6th, my favorite. Oh, and just to reply to you, Missouri. Yeah, we went over that earlier in the clips about him talking about the Senate being a separate institution, but I think the general take we have is, well, it is true the Senate's a separate institution, but it seems like he's just leveraging that, like you're saying, to not agree with everything Trump's going to do. And also, like, the thing I brought up, there's a condescension to it. Condescension to a guy that's already been president for 4 years, and he's like, well, I'm going to have to teach President Trump how the Senate works. Like that kind of really low drone, like I own you kind of language. I don't like that at all.
Jobs Act.
Monday marks 4 years since January 6th, since the attack on the Capitol. You were here.
The attack on the Capitol.
That day, you've been in this building for more than 20 years. In my interview with him, President-elect Trump said he plans to pardon those who attacked the Capitol on that day, and potentially even some of those who pleaded guilty to assaulting police officers. Do you support that, pardoning people who attacked police officers who stormed the Capitol that day?
Well, I mean, as we've discovered under the Biden administration, the pardon authority is a very broad one. I mean, he's taken it to a whole new level. That's ultimately going to be a decision that President Trump is going to have to make. And, what I'm focused on is the future, and not looking in the rearview mirror, but looking in the windshield and what we have to do. I think you learn from the past, you remember the past, but you live in the present and the future. And right now, we have an agenda which consists of a stronger, more robust economy, energy dominance, rebuilding our national security and securing our border. Those are things that we want to get done, which I think the American people voted on in November and gave President Trump a very decisive victory. And I think the expectation is that we're going to work with him to accomplish that agenda.
As the majority leader in the Senate, though, what message do you think it would send to give pardons to people who pleaded guilty to attacking police officers who stormed this building 4 years ago?
Well, look, I mean, again, it's ultimately going to be a decision that the President of the United States, the pardon authority exists with him. My job right now is to help the President get the people into the positions that he wants to implement his agenda, and then work constructively with him, with the House of Representatives, on an agenda that we think is what the American people voted for. And that, you can't be looking in the rearview mirror to do that. You know, that's 4 years ago. I think the American people are living in the present, and I think they want the work that we're doing to be done with an eye toward what we can do to improve their lives today.
President-elect Trump told me he is open to doing a deal with Democrats to protect Dreamers, those who were brought here illegally as children. Do you commit to working with Democrats to try to get a deal on the Dreamers?
Well, if the President of the United States, he's obviously going to lead on a lot of this policy with respect to the border. But that is an issue that I think on which there could be some bipartisan cooperation. In the past, at least, there have been conversations around, if you get the right things with respect to border security, that might be part of a conversation where you could get a package.
I just finally, big picture, want to ask you, you endorsed Tim Scott during the Republican primary. You ultimately backed Mr. Trump. How would you describe your relationship with President-elect Trump right now?
Well, you know what? It's evolving. And we have a relationship, I think, where we understand what each other wants to accomplish. And what I've said before is, you know, that there is an alignment of incentives. We want to get to the same destination. I want a lot of the same thing to accomplish the same things that he does. And I think that's a powerful combination, and we're going to continue to build on that.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune, thank you so much for your time.
Don't you love how like how happy they are? Not just to be done with the interview, but just like they love each other. They're about to hug, might maybe kiss after the cameras go off.
Dude, it pissed me off so much at the end. She's like, well, what kind of message do you think it sends if he pardons the people that attacked the Senate
police officers
in the Capitol building? It's like, I hope the message it sends is that you don't screw around with the American people. You give them what they want.
Yeah, more hoaxes, more lies, and none of it. It's all like water off a duck's back for Senator Thune. He's just like, man, you're so right. You're so true. I hate Trump. Those are the last three questions. The last three questions of this interview were in order. Well, actually, there was January 6th, don't you hate Trump? Those are the last three questions.
Yeah, pretty much.
January 6th, guys.
With a little bonus departure on, what about the Dreamers? Don't you care about the Dreamers? Yeah. I liked Thune's response, and it's because ultimately what he's saying is, I will use this as bait to get them to approve of the border stuff. And if the border bill is strong enough, this is the caveat. If it's a weak border bill and he still tries to give them the DACA Dreamer thing, I'm going to tell Thune to shove it where the sun don't shine. And I think all of you should too. If it's like, okay, we're going to fund the deportations, everything Homan asks for, we get everything that the executive needs for border security. We finish the physical barrier. We fund the physical barrier and we fund the electronic barrier, whatever. Cool. Fine. I don't care. Politics is a land of temporal compromise. Have your little token victory. Go ahead. Stupid Dreamer thing. Trump has been pro DACA Dreamers since 2015. Whatever. Screw it. That's my take on that. But yeah, no. It's still. I have the last three ones. I didn't even notice it. It just glazed over me when I was taking down these notes. My last three were January 6th. I love January 6th. Also, don't you hate Trump? Don't you hate Trump?
Oh man, it's just, and I kind of also hate the answer that he gave. He's like, "Do you support this?" I was like, "Well, you see, this is the decision of the president. This is not my decision." It's like, dude, just at least have the balls to say, "I'm happy about it," or "No, I'm happy about it. I'm not happy about it." Just have an opinion.
Yeah, have an opinion. Don't be a coward.
Very milquetoast.
Very, very milquetoast, wishy-washy. I think we've identified the Thune curve. Like I said, he says what he really thinks in the first 10 seconds of talking, and then he says what he thinks he's supposed to say in the last 10 seconds of what he's saying. And however he gets there in the middle, it's anybody's guess. It's a maze. It's a trap. But yeah. So that was everything with this interview. I have some other ideas for streams. We might do 1 or 2 more streams this week. Not tomorrow though. It would be Wednesday through Friday. One of the 2 of those days. But yeah, you will be getting daily content in the morning. The video going up tomorrow morning is about the mainstream polls versus the right-wing polls. I think it really deserves a talk because election Twitter and the general populace has had pretty bad takes on polls, and they all got BTFO'd at the end of this year. So we need to talk about the guys that did a good job and talk about why the mainstream keeps getting it wrong. So that'll be tomorrow. So expect daily content, occasional streams. Hopefully we'll have some more of our prestigious guests on here later. After Rap gets over what happened to him is like total violation. After Luke, gets over what he's currently doing right now, give him your thoughts and your prayers, guys, please. Both Rap and Luke, they deserve some love. So give him some love if you see him on the internet space. But yeah, hopefully we get all this sorted out and we can do some collaborations with more of the Rap guys. There's actually a couple of other people that are asking to do streams with me. I'm thinking about it. But first we're just gonna see how it pans out right now. But yeah, also just noting it. Yeah, Crank, you're absolutely right. Trump said he might do a deal for Dreamers. Do you swear with absolute loyalty that you will totally do this? That's how every question's framed. It's like a trap. Every question's a trap. But yeah, I want to thank you guys for showing up. Thank you guys for showing up to my first stream. We got it through. I had a lot of fun. I hope that you guys enjoyed. And again, my message to everyone, keep these people under fire. Like the House leader, I almost said Mitch McConnell. House Leader Mitch McConnell. No. Mike Johnson and the crew in the House are going to get hell from here to back. I don't have to worry about that. I do worry about the senators getting the correct amount of fire under their feet. So hold them accountable, guys. That's my ultimate message. And other than that, I hope you all had a fantastic evening with us. And I will see you guys later. Probably